It's not a science.
Sorry.
Yeah, no problem. It's not a science. It's not a win or loss situation. It's wins and learns. We keep going, we keep evolving and growing as entrepreneurs along the way. And marketing is just like that. Marketing is very iterative. I'll skip a little bit quickly here through my bio to save time, but currently, yes, I'm at an agency as a director of a strategy and a partner, and I also do my own marketing advising and brand strategy work. I like to start off with branding because branding is huge when it comes to your success, whether you're a creator or whether you're a celebrity, a politician, anything like this, right? You're competing for attention. At the end of the day, it comes down to attention. So branding at the end of the day helps to distinguish you. And we look at it, there's the brand identity, which is kind of the visual elements. There's a brand image, which is how you're perceived by others. And then there's personal branding, which is making sure that your personal values align with your company and brand values. Today, I'm going to touch on both personal branding and branding, and I will continue to run through this. Your personal brand really is how people describe you. What are you known as the go-to person for, and what problem are you actually solving, right? When someone describes you at an event or networking event, or if you're being referred, how does someone describe what you do and how you help, right? That's where your brand, your personal brand and your business brand really come to play. If you don't have a strong brand, someone may kind of mumble and stumble around. Oh, they kind of do this. They're kind of into art. They're kind of, they do, like, they need to be able to have a very succinct way of saying what you do and how you do it, right? So I'm going to share just an example of having a story where you can share your journey. This is a little bit about me, not to make it about me. It's just an example, right? So I won't go through my whole story, but born in Toronto, grew up in the suburbs. I was super active as a student. That led me to launching a nonprofit. As a result of that, I got a ton of different speaking engagements, awards, fundraising, etc. And then from there, my career started, where I studied design, I started freelancing, I worked at the Apple Store. And this is just, you go through this linear story to yourself, because if you do this on paper, you may realize there's actually a ton you've done that you don't necessarily have noted down in one place. And this helps you to tell your own story as a brand, as a personal brand, as a creative, that can then help you to really position yourselves and sell your value, right? Sometimes you forget all the things you did so many years ago, or something you may thought of insignificant, but it actually gives you some great experience under your belt. And the journey helps people resonate and connect with you as well. So these are just some examples. I don't expect you to read and memorize my story, but more importantly, you want to share those wins along the way, and you also want to be able to share some of the struggles and lessons you've learned. A lot of times we look at a LinkedIn account or a resume and it's just the successes, right? As an entrepreneur or a creator, people can actually resonate or relate to you more if you share those learnings and journeys along the way. Now, where you put all this information, obviously I recommend every entrepreneur has a personal website. This could be in addition to your company website, but having a personal website allows you to control the narrative about yourself, and it allows you to register and own your domain name, own your name on the website, on the internet, so that someone else isn't buying your name one day and taking control of that. So having a consistent online presence is important, and having that brand at the end of the day that just distinguishes you from someone else. That applies to your company brand, and that applies to your personal brand, right? For me, one of those distinctive elements you can see visually is this orange. Clearly, I'm using orange everywhere. That is part of my personal brand element. That consistency helps you to connect that with me, right? Now, brands are a lot more than you can see. We have visual identity and key messaging. That's what everyone sees every day at the top on the surface. This is an iceberg model here, right? But below the surface, under the water, all this other stuff goes into your brand. You have your team, you have your environment. Are you working in a place that supports your vision and your values? What are your core values? And lastly, what is your big picture vision and your why? All of that does dictate and inform your brand. One of the things you can do is this exercise here. Oh, sorry. This little wheel called the brand soul canvas. You can do it later on, where you just fill in different things, your purpose, your vision, your message, your niche, your value, your identity, and your promise. At the end of the day, you get your essence, right? Which is what makes up you and your brand. So I'll let you definitely look into that. What problem are you solving? This is the big question, right? As an entrepreneur or a creative, I already mentioned you're competing for attention just like anyone else. And so I'm going to skip through some of these numbers here, but very importantly, brand consistency is important. If you haven't gotten clear on all those messages we just went through, your brand won't be consistent. Over 2/3 of businesses say that brand consistency has contributed to more revenue growth. 77% of consumers buy from brands that share the same values as they do. How does a customer know if they have the same values as you? You need to be clear on those values, right? 88% of consumers say that authenticity is a key factor when deciding what brands they support. So they need to feel that you're being true, honest, authentic. And so you can let that actually shine through, and don't be afraid. Don't try to look like everyone else, right? So when it comes to go-to-market strategy, I'm not going to go super in-depth into this today, just because I'd like to spend time discussing questions that you may have, problems you may have right now. But you won't have a business if you don't have customers. So the first step is getting realigned on who you're building this business to serve, getting as specific as possible. You've probably completed exercises or gone through exercises like this. It's great to revisit those as your business evolves and grows, right? You've had some experience. Maybe you choose, maybe you decided from your lessons, you no longer want to work with this type of demographic because they don't have the budget or they're not available in my area, for example, right? And so getting this specific allows you to really speak to this person when you're marketing, right? If you're marketing to this Adrian person here, you can speak to their interest, you can speak to their tone of voice, you can use the social platforms that they're on, as opposed to just doing things from your own lens, because you're not your customer, right? You need to remind yourself that you're speaking in their language, not just in your language.
Good point.
Thank you. There's some things you can complete, activities to do to identify them. This is just a visual example of a persona canvas, right? Where you can complete all these different points on a person. These are some of them. What is their need? One of the things I like to look for here is like, what is their hope? What are some hopes they have in the future? Also, what are their fears, right? If your business can address these, then obviously you're going to be a fit for them. But just looking into like how you can really understand the customer, right? And defining your target audience comes down to these demographics that everyone talks about. If you're ever going to run Facebook ads, for example, you need to know these things on the left, the name, sorry, not the name, the age, the gender, etc. But more importantly, sometimes is the psychographics, which is how they think, right? How they actually operate. What are their goals, their feelings? More examples of this are like their opinions, their hobbies, their true interests and values and likes. And trying to understand that is very helpful. And you have to remember that you're not for everybody. So going in depth with a couple of people to really understand that goes a long way in your targeting. Those psychographics include a lot, right? Dreams, motivations, lifestyle choices, things like this. So when it comes to positioning yourself, I take a brand first approach, and we'll look at what that is. Good positioning answers these questions. What does your company do for me? And why does your company exist, and how is it different, right? They sound like very basic questions, but this can really help you to update your positioning. And then identifying these things here that help you create a value proposition that helps you show up on the market. You, of course, need a target customer, target market. You have to have a compelling reason for them to buy. Just because your product is good isn't necessarily enough of a reason, right? Or your service is good. How does your product exist within the other competitors, right? Are you the expensive option? Are you the quick option? Are you the most accessible option? You know, the next is that key benefit that really addresses that reason to buy. The primary alternative source of that has the same benefit. So you need to know what competitor is also saying that they're the ones that can do it, you know, the highest quality, let's say, right? And then lastly, a key difference or point of differentiation. This all goes into your positioning. This is a chart that I like to use to compare things like quality and price. So this is how you are perceived, right? So you have low quality and high quality on either end, and then you have high price and low price on the top and the bottom. Low quality, someone who is the lower quality option and a lower price option is great. That's a discount brand, right? You expect it.
Walmart.
Yeah, exactly. Dollar store sometimes. So then, you know, now you wouldn't necessarily want a low quality and low price lawyer because, you know, that person may not win for you, right? But at the end of the day, there needs to be options in different categories, right? If you are providing a very low price, but you're, you know, in this case, in the bottom right, we have lower price but higher quality. That's going to be like the main competitor brand, right? That's going to be like the one that's great quality, but it's like the one that doesn't have the name brand, for example, right? So it's like when brands like, for example, no name brand, they don't claim to be a crappy quality. They are consistent quality, but they're lower price. That's their down brand, right? They say that they cut corners in different areas by not spending on advertising and things like this, not reducing their quality. So they stay higher quality and they're in the lower price category. You can decide. You don't have to be low price, of course. You can be super high price. Just don't be, you know, in the the area that no one's going to make sense to buy from, right? Try to determine exactly where you fit and do it based on who else is in the space, right? If you're opening a business and somewhere else in the town you live in right now is already in that high price, high quality category, perhaps there's room for one that's a little bit lower price or a little lower quality, right? Look at that. Exactly. And see where you can fit in. Awesome. Okay. A marketing plan. Many of you, especially if you're accessing the Small Business Center, would have probably have come across a marketing plan template. I won't spend too much time on it, but all of these things we discussed today go into it, right? The competition, the personas, your goals, your mission, your vision, values, all of it kind of goes into here. One thing I'll highlight though is number 5, which is what is your business and marketing plan not going to include? Because you can't do everything, right? You can't do events, social, running ads, creating videos, doing web campaigns, like doing door-to-door. You can't do all of it, right? Especially as a small business. And so it's important to look at which ones you're not going to do as well. All right. And then how should you decide actually where to be and what to do? I look at things like what channels does your audience actually use the most, right? If you can't manage 5 different social media accounts, is there one that's going to produce the best results, right? If you go all in on that one platform. What kind of message tends to be more effective? Is it like a more negative one? Is it more a challenging one? Is it more a motivational, positive one? Is it an urgency message or is it a helpful voice? Think about the type of industry you're in and what tends to work best. What is the ideal period for promoting your product? Maybe it's something you don't need to be promoting 24/7 all year round. Maybe it's something you promote again on a recurring basis because people need your services or your products every month, for example. And then same thing with seasonality. And then how are your competitors promoting? So definitely pay attention to that. If they're super active on other platforms, great. But maybe there's a missed opportunity somewhere where they're not that you can potentially go into as well, right? And you have a million options. Some are paid, some are organic. Try a couple of them at a time, experiment, give them a full shot. Do not try them all, of course, but there are quite a bit of options you could include. And if you're a B2B business, you're selling to other businesses, a lot of partnerships and LinkedIn outreach and things like that could be huge. But if you're, going directly to consumers, you have to look at where those consumers actually are. So be where your customers are most. Amazing. Showing up on social, I have some examples here. You can view them a little bit later on your own. But one of these creators actually here, she has this like recap she did for the year. And it was a really cool way to just showcase all the different events and projects and products that she worked on throughout the year. She has all of these different pieces of content here as an example. These are all videos, but these videos all are different approaches. One of them is her being super authentic behind the scenes, looking at like what it's like to like receive all these orders and have a genuine reaction and result to that. The next is like you're seeing her behind the scenes working, sharing her process, right? The one on the very right is her talking about her like day-to-day lifestyle, so people can relate to what she does and want to follow her behind the scenes. And she gave some tips here. So what did she do to gain 120 followers in 2022? Asked a lot of questions in stories and posts, doing more voiceover videos. So she would tell stories as she's, recording her videos, say thank you to her followers and doing giveaways, posting what makes her proud instead of just following trends. She posted consistently. So she said 3 times a week worked for her, but it's very different for everyone, right? And lastly, don't take social media too seriously. It's not about the algorithm. The way that I recommend coming up with a lot of content is to focus on one long form piece of content. So if you're doing a workshop ever like me or a presentation or anything like that, or if you would like to do a recording of yourself speaking, that's a long form piece of content, right? You could use that and turn that into smaller pieces, right? A quote graphic, a photo from that talk, an article based on one of the sections of your talk, right? Different things like this. And then lastly, you distribute that across all different platforms. So you can really get a lot of content out of one shoot, for example. And that's what's going to really help you as an entrepreneur to streamline. I did a podcast to show some expertise in my industry called Growth for Good. I work with a lot of nonprofit organizations too. And so I recorded these full-length episodes. I put them up on YouTube. I put them up on Spotify and iTunes. And then I took a bunch of clips, I think 5 or 6 clips from every episode, and posted those clips over time, LinkedIn posts, Instagram posts, Twitter posts. And I kind of kept, saw what was working on each one and learned for the next one, right? But I had so much content up front that I wasn't always wondering, oh, what am I going to film? What am I going to post today, right? You do it all kind of up front. There's, if you are looking, again, there's things that you can there's tools you can use to put it all in one place. If you're relaunching or launching something new, the go-to-market canvas is a great way to include all of these things in one document. This is just an example format of what you can do for that.
That's lovely.
Yeah, I'm just going to share a couple of books here for inspiration that I like to follow. Steal Like an Artist is one. 10 Things Nobody Told You About Being Creative. Show Your Work is another one. I think as entrepreneurs and creators, we often forget to actually share our wins and our successes and our projects, right? There's quite a bit of books here for creatives. It's not how good you are, it's how good you want to be. Creative Calling, which is about having a daily practice. An example of a daily practice could be writing one blog post every day, no matter what, no matter if you feel like it or not. Posting one picture every single day, or at least taking the picture, right? These things all kind of help into your routines. When it comes to your marketing, though, inspiring others to follow your journey is really important. It's not just about promoting your products or your services. Show up as the human face of your business. Be open to feedback and continue to gather that feedback. Always be extra clear on your messaging, but try to refine it over time. And the world is changing, people evolve, and brands evolve. Very important reminder, right? You're not going to stay the same forever. So I'd love to answer any questions you have. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Danielle. Please unmute yourself or put a question in the chat or whatever. I love so many cool points. It sounds like consistency is king also, right? Like, you know, if you're gonna be authentic and someone's going to rely on you, whether it's you or the brand, it's if you're consistent, like, hi, oh, Wednesday, I'm going to have a post from Jeanette or Mr. Team Tim McKinney. Oh my goodness, can't say that. He joined us a little later. It's just like, wow. Yeah. It's sometimes we forget that we're unique and we should celebrate that. Anybody got some questions? Because here he is. He's all yours.
Yeah, I have a few minutes. If you have questions on anything to do with marketing or social media or storytelling or anything like that.
This is Robert. I have a question.
Yep.
I just want to do a sound check, make sure I can be heard.
Yep, I can hear you. Hi, Robert.
Perfect. Thank you. Great presentation. Thanks, Daniel. You know, one of the biggest challenges, I think, for very small businesses is that the business owners are busy doing their business, but really no time for marketing. First of all, they're not sure what to do. And when they are sure what to do, they just don't have the time to do it. So, and in my personal experience, I've looked at various marketing services, and they seem to want a significant amount of money compared to the service they offer. And I think that's obviously because they have to, you know, make it worthwhile for them. So do you have any suggestions for the most affordable ways to get marketing help for small businesses?
Yeah, so there's a couple different options. There are a lot of really great exercises and templates and tools you can do yourself to go through the process. That brings you a lot further along, so that when you do go to hire an expert, you're informed and you're more able to be more targeted with your ask, right? If you try to bring on someone to solve all your problems, they'll try to solve all your problems, which means they'll quote you on all kinds of services and solutions, right? And it'll be a much more expensive engagement. If you have an upfront strategy, you complete this, like, you know, go to market canvas, you answer all the questions, and you go to a freelancer like this, with this, they're much more likely to be able to say, yes, I can help you with this area, and I can give you a very accurate quote on that one tactic, right? Another thing you can do is to, again, like I said, try one tactic at a time, where there's usually with marketing, there's different sides, there's different pieces of it, right? There's the strategy and research piece, there's the execution of that, and then there's things like testing and reporting and iterating. You can have someone who does all three steps, right? Which is going to be the most expensive option. You could have someone who's strictly executing for you, or you can have someone who does the high value work, like the strategy, the planning, the research, gives you a great strategy, and then you can execute it yourself or find someone significantly less skilled and less expensive to execute that strategy, right? I always like to recommend that if you invest in an upfront strategy that's, you know, that's solid and makes sense for your industry and is targeted, then, Robert, you can find someone who's able to execute that for much cheaper. Whether it's, you know, a local marketing student, whether it's a freelancer online, you know, anything like that, where they're not going to charge you an arm and a leg, you know, senior prices to do that.
Great, that helps. Thank you.
Yep, no problem.
Hi, that was really great. And thank you. Thank you for presenting this Zoom meeting today. I don't know if people are going to yell and scream and run away or say yay to AI, but I have been experimenting through GPT and asking questions. I think it's got potential to maybe displace certain industries, and I can see that. But I still, as a songwriter, I still haven't heard an AI song that has a kind of soul that a human can write. But anyway, that's me. but I did experiment with giving them a subject and saying, give me 10 Facebook posts about this subject. And the whole magic happens when you do a good prompt and give it enough parameters and stuff like that. Because that question Robert asked about, you know, the marketing, it's really important. You can have the best music or the best product in the world, and if nobody knows about it, because you don't have time, you're so busy producing what you're doing or creating what you're doing that you don't have time to run out, promote, and market. I don't want to make this a long rambling question. Have you done any experimenting with AI or ChatGPT? Could that be a tool even to say, like I would say, you're the top marketer in Canada for all things that have the musical presentation and promotion. Give me a promotional outline for, you know, and then give them the plan of what I want to do. It
Yeah.
really does think outside the box, or gives you a whole bunch of things that you can think about. And then you can evidently program it to actually do it. Like just say, okay, every third day, release this or release that. Any idea? Okay. Any experience yet? Have you had anything with ChatGPT or AI, and how to harness it and use it as opposed to letting it take over our lives? Does that make sense?
Yes, definitely. I think that you can, there's a lot of ways you can leverage AI to your advantage when it comes to efficiencies, that's for sure. And it does come down to being clear on the strategy and not having too big of an expectation as to what it can output for you, right? There are a lot of nuances within every industry, and more importantly, if you're a local, you know, if you're targeting a local audience, the nuances within your local community, that's very, very, very different, right? Like, it's not going to understand all those nuances. And I think ChatGPT is great when you're extremely clear on your brief, when you have existing brand messaging and brand voice, because one of the challenges is that it's not your brand, it's not your style, right? If you can input all of that, and then you use it as a base, not to do everything for you, but just use it as a base. That's where I've seen people use it effectively. I've tried things through there that, for example, I do podcasts, and one of my clients was doing an interview with like 5 different guests, and I needed to get information about each of these guests. So I did my own research, put together a little blurb about each one and a couple of sample questions, and I said to ChatGPT, I inputted all those, and I said, you know, prepare some potential podcast interview questions for this guest. Here's their bio, here's who they are, here's the theme, right? And then going from there, it was able to generate several questions. Now, it generated like 15 questions per person, and then I was able to edit them and remove the ones that I thought were not as relevant, right? So that's an example of how you do the upfront work and you have the direction, right? And then you can make it work for you. It's definitely not something that can fully execute. I would never use it for like blog posts, for example, or like a proposal. Now, if you have all the inputs you need for a proposal, amazing, right? It will then format that correctly for you, but I don't like to rely on it for original ideas, because at the end of the day, ChatGPT, it can't be original ideas.
Oh.
And it also does use sources from the internet. It uses sources that exist, right? So that'd be my answer on ChatGPT. And as a marketer, as a creative, I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid of it.
Yeah, as a creative, I still want to create, but I found it helped organize my thoughts, or organize it better and give me ideas I hadn't thought about. I asked it to, I wrote a speech and I put it in there, and I said, what would you do with that? It gave me a thing. And then I said, but I don't really want it to be about me. I want it to be about the pain that the people listening to it are feeling. So it's about them. And it rewrote the whole speech, taking the content of what I had. And I went, yeah, it's still not exactly all the way I would say it, but it does have a use. You can use it as a tool. But I agree with you, as far as creation, nothing's going to come close to the human creator, in my mind, anyway.
I
Well,
have some more
think
questions.
I like what Danielle said, Jeanette. I mean, it's almost like the person or the soul starts it and then reads it and picks out the soul again, like just
Editor.
like a editor or a confirmation, like, okay, I'm in the right track, and my audience is going to understand that. Now I'm going to add my flair.
You have to train it, because remember,
Yes.
ChatGPT is one tool, obviously, but it is a generative AI tool. Generative AI means it needs to generate from something, right? It builds off of something. And so that's where you can leverage your own unique insights and talents to making that happen, right?
I have some more questions.
Yes, sir.
I wrote down some questions, but I don't want to hog the call. So if anyone else has questions, please stop me and interrupt. But my next question is customer profile. I run a membership organization, and we took a look at the members that are in there. They span all age groups, family situations, cultural backgrounds, and incomes.
Yes.
What binds them all together is that they own investment rental properties. And so is it okay, or is it a best practice to have a number of ideal customer profiles, because it's maybe hard to develop just one?
Yes. The most that I would recommend developing, depending on obviously the size of your audience and business, is 3. You can develop as much as 7 or 8, but the challenge with that is if you really get accurate with your marketing and communications, that means you would need to develop 7 different pieces of collateral every time you're looking to do something, right? So look at it as what is practical. And you have the reminder for a persona is that you're speaking to those people, you're speaking to that individual ICP, but other people will still resonate with that, right? You're not specifically, turning that person away just because they don't feel like they're in that exact persona. I think that's important, right? To remember is that other people will still relate to it, but you're trying to relate to that one person the most. And yeah, so having maybe up to 3 is helpful. One of my current clients is a company that provides funding for research, specifically for research and development that startups and companies and medical practitioners are doing. They have such a wide range of clientele that can apply for this funding, right? So for them, we created I think we have 3 or 4 personas, but all of our marketing that we're testing is for one of those first, right? We're doing all the marketing campaigns, the ads, the email sequences, the social for that one persona. We named him Innovator Ian, right? And Innovator Ian, whatever we learn from him, yes, other people will still benefit from that, right? They'll still resonate with it. But we're going to take that learning. We have a medical practitioner, we have a doctor persona as well. We're going to run other ads that target that person, and we'll learn to see what how those perform, right? But I think it's okay to focus on 1 or 2 personas at a time, and see who else resonates with that, right?
That's great, thank you. I got a couple more questions, but I will pause to see if anyone else has any.
Keep on going, Robert.
Okay.
Daniel's time's precious. Let's make the use of it.
I have another. I can say till 3:15, so I'm good.
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So I run a membership organization, and a lot of it is has been based on me as the leader of the whole thing, the spokesperson of the whole thing. But I really, as nice as that is for my ego, I really don't want that. I want the business to be based on its services and the benefits to the members. If I get ill, something happens to me, the business can continue. Also, I don't want to make myself a target, because I believe in, maybe this is negative thinking, but I believe in today's society, if you're too high profile, you make yourself a target for people with agendas or people who want to bring you down, accusations, things like that. So do you have any thoughts on if somebody in my position that wants to build a business but does not want to build it around a core person's personality, so there's continuity and sustainability of the business? Because that gets away from what you said, build your business on your personality. And I've been pushed in the direction of creating becoming like an internet influencer. I don't really care for that, for the reasons that I stated.
Makes sense. Yeah, the challenge with that is it's not scalable or sustainable, right? Because you can't really have a succession plan from that regard. So from a leadership perspective, this is where we talk about the personal brand and the brand of the organization. It's really important that, yes, you align those values, but you also need to create clear guidelines, messaging, branding that people can buy into. That's not just you. So if it's all in your head, Robert, then it's very difficult for other people to take that throne, right? And to step in and be the leader. Creating more of a presence for the organization where it's not only you as the face of it is helpful. Obviously, in-person meetings and events, you can't avoid that unless you have a replacement, right? You can't avoid that. But using different vocabulary and language to make it more about we or us on the website and on the social, and it not just being, your face being shown, start to highlight some of the members more, start to highlight any other collaborators and partners more. That's one way that you can transition yourself out from being the main, so closely associated with it, right? And over time, it will be a transition. It's not something you can just turn on. But over time, people will also identify the organization's brand and then you as well.
Okay, that's helpful. Thank you very much. And a last question, but I don't see any other hands up, so I guess I'll keep going. 2 minutes left, I think.
Yeah.
So many customers will come to us looking for help with a specific problem. It's very transactional. They don't really necessarily see the benefits of the membership program themselves. And we've gotten to the point now where, because there's so many freeloaders, we refuse to help these people. We say, well, you need to join first, and once you're a member, we can help you. And some do, but most don't. So do you think that there would be merit in doing a marketing campaign saying we can help you with these specific problems, and then pull people in to the membership that way? I'm just wondering if we're not doing a good job transitioning from their specific problem to, well, you should join and get help with that specific problem, but then here's the benefits of being a member as well.
Yeah, for sure. So what you're looking to do always with any type of membership-based organization is to showcase what is on the inside, right? So like, what do members get? What are the benefits of being a member? And sometimes you need to continuously remind people of that because they're busy with their day-to-day, right? They're busy with their other lives, they're busy with other things they do. I'm a member of a few different associations and I'm still not aware of all their benefits. They need to do continuous email outreach to promote some of their other offerings, right? So it's important that you do bring that information out to them. And if you don't have a regular email newsletter, that is something that you could start, where you offer more information about those things and you feature examples of things you can do to help, and commonly asked questions, common concerns that you do address. Feature those, right? Feature those examples, feature those case studies, so that people can see, oh yeah, I could probably ask about that too, or oh, I didn't know you guys help with this, right? That's one of the best ways to do that, is just putting those examples out in front of people.
That's great. Thank you very much.
No problem. Were there any other final questions from anyone else that didn't get to ask? I know, Abby says in the chat, how should we do branding for a supplement manufacturing company? So Abby, is this a B2B company? Do you sell to other companies, or are you selling to the consumer? If you're manufacturing, I'm assuming you're selling to other businesses, right? Just let me know in the chat there, because if you're branding, you sell to consumers. Okay, so you manufacture supplements, but you sell them to the consumer directly. Okay, so in that case, in the supplement industry, it's going to be very much about trust. In the supplement industry, the two things you're going to focus on are the benefits and building trust. That is actually the biggest benefit, but it's also the biggest challenge, right? In this industry. It's a highly competitive space. So you need to really show what's different about your approach. If it's the way you manufacture, if it's where you get your materials from, if it's the values of your company, right? What it is about your approach that's a little bit different. Doesn't have to be the whole world different, because a lot of these companies sell the same stuff at the end of the day, but it's about how you position those, right? There's a lot of generic brands that, for example, they'll take something like a supplement, let's say like melatonin, and they'll rebrand it to be something called like, I don't know, calm tablets or something, right? Or like sleep easy, but it's actually just melatonin as a product, right? So how can you How can you use those key benefits and really get into the mind of the consumer to understand what do they want out of this supplement, like what's their solution they're looking for, and then how can you better position the brand to speak to those needs, right? If it's about health and wellness, if it's about optimizing your life, being more productive, if it's about longevity, like what are the reasons people are getting in? I think that's where you can really customize that. And just huge thing about supplement or anything in the medical or health space is that, people are going to be skeptical always. And so you need to have, at the very least, clear communication, clear story. They want to know where it's coming from, what your source is, right? Who you are. And then visually, it needs to all look seamless. You can't really be doing anything that looks super DIY because, chances are someone's not going to trust putting that in their body if they're not 100% convinced, right? So, yeah, hopefully that answers your questions. Abby, it looks like you said you're going to connect with me on Instagram, which you can definitely do so as well.
You've been very generous, Daniel. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Bye. See you later, Jeanette. See you in the county. It has been recorded. I'm going to end it right now, and I'll send you guys a workshop recap tomorrow. Give me an hour or two to get it together, and Daniel will send his slides over too. And yeah. And yes,
thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Daniel. You're really realistic and fun and orange.
I love it. Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Bye, guys.
Bye.